Hello and welcome. We're going to be exploring how you can use strategies in your classroom and go from prediction to creation with the science of reading. And if you don't know us, we are lovely human beings. My name is Stephanie Howe, and I am a coach at School AI, and I absolutely love supporting students, educators, and making school just really successful and awesome for everybody that's kind of involved. But I'm also joined by one of my best friends, Ted. So, Ted, go ahead and say hello, and you're now an author.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Ted Samaras. Thank you, Stephanie. Now, we are both good human beings, so that's always nice for you guys to know. I am an instructional technology coach in Franklin Township, which is in Somerset, New Jersey. So I get to work with a great staff and set of students that run K-12. In addition, at some of the conferences that you see Stephanie and I in, I also have other affiliations, such as Google and that type of thing. So you might see me in those kind of aspects as well. And yeah, Stephanie mentioned too, and I'll kind of show it because I think we're going to be using a little bit of it. My book here, I'll Visit Space from Here. It's a kid's book, but it has got loads of science in there for adults too. And it is about a young boy named Leo who really, really loves space, just like Stephanie and I do. But his mama doesn't want him to go in a rocket, and neither does he. So he gets to explore all the different ways that he can be part of the space program while staying right here on Earth. So thank you
Yeah.
for that, Steph.
Yeah, so first, when we're getting started with I'll Visit Space from Here. And again, you can use these strategies for any article or activity that you're reading with your students. However, we're definitely going to spotlight TED today, and we're going to show how you're able to do some of these activities with I'll Visit Space from Here. So, when it comes to prediction, prediction is a great way to build prior knowledge and background knowledge to support your students and knowing certain vocabulary words that they might get stuck on to help them kind of be engaged with the activity. And so, when it comes to prediction strategies, one of my favorite ways to get students excited is using a space or doodle. And so, what students do is they have 5 minutes. So, you'll set a quick timer and they will review the topic. So in this case, it's about space. And what they do is they draw anything that they know about space. They can create concept maps. They can just use like a blank piece of paper, and they can use like a marker or a pen or a pencil, and they can draft and sketch out all of their ideas. However, if students don't know about space, they can go into this School AI space where they're able to learn all about what is going on in space. They can ask questions, they can read facts, they can learn some of the vocabulary words that are going to appear, and then they can sketch what they learn maybe around that 2 to 3 minute mark of that timer. So there's multiple ways to support students learning when it comes to those prediction strategies. And again, space or doodle is one of my favorite ways. And again, you don't have to do this with reading a topic. You can use this with any activity that you're teaching. Another fun activity is research on the run, where students are in a group of 3. So you've got one student who is the runner. This student needs tennis shoes. You have the researcher. This student needs a computer. And then you have a scribe. This person needs a piece of paper or a poster. And what your students do is they work together, and they have to find as many accurate facts as possible before the time runs out. Typically, I'll set a timer for 7 to 10 minutes, and students will be in kind of a line. You've got your researcher over here, and you've got your scribe over here, and your runner is going in between the two. And so when we're doing this, your researcher is in a School AI space where they're able to join in and ask questions for their team. And they're able to learn facts all about what they're about to read, where it's I'll Visit Space from Here. And they're able to kind of build that background knowledge. As your researcher is gaining information, they are telling the runner. The runner's running down to the scribe, and the scribe is writing in what they noticed, what they wondered, what they've learned in this space. And again, the team with the most accurate facts at the end of the session is our winner. So these are just great ideas, ways to support your students, to get them excited about prediction and building that knowledge and just that excitement around what we're about to read.
And that's awesome. I was listening to you talk about, highlighting those two things, the Spacer Doodle or the Research on the Run. And I'm sure some of you guys out there have always got like that idea of, oh, I'm going to write a book, especially like a kid's book, right? You're like, oh, I've got so many stories and all that. And both of those activities kind of sound like what my brain was like when I was trying to put this together. Because like the Spacer Doodle, it's really cool because like, you may have certain ideas or may not have certain ideas at the beginning, but then you move through the book a little bit, or you move through your ideas and now you're sketching out more. And it just kind of like, kind of builds, but like at different layers, are you going back and forth and back and forth. And then the Research on the Run is definitely like your brain, like kind of shooting all kinds of places in terms of that as well, because you get all kinds of different ideas. And so like the tools that Stephanie is highlighting, they're a great way to kind of, help you get your ideas down, whether you're a reader of the book, whether you're a creator of another book, or just, like I said, just, working with the book, whether it's this book or something else too, even like, your lessons and all that kind of stuff in your classrooms. So, yeah. So like I said, I was getting a kick out of it because I was thinking about my own experience and my head started going all over the place too. So yeah, but Stephanie has been nice enough to ask me to read this, so I will. It goes quick, I promise. It goes quick. I could probably do it from memory, but I'll hold it up, and you kind of get that space effect because I'm using a virtual background, so you kind of see how like the book disappears a little bit. I'll keep doing that a little bit for you here and there, too, awesome. Just so that this way, it kind of has that cosmic feel to it, right, Steph?
Yeah, and if you want your own copy, make sure you go over to Amazon, you add this book to your cart, and you purchase it, because again, this is just a great way to help your students, or even me as an adult, learn more about space.
Thank you for that. Just so you know, that was not me with the shameless plug, by the way.
No, that was me. That was totally me.
That was all Steph. I had no idea that was coming. So I'm just happy to be sharing the book and presenting with Steph. So, all right. So let me go on here and I will read this out. So I'll visit space from here. Okay. And the first thing here we have is a dedication. And it says, Mom, you were afraid to fly, but you always encouraged me to soar. Thank you and love you. So I want to make sure I shouted out my mom there. And she cried too, Steph.
I believe it. I believe it.
So, but it meant a lot to be able to do that. Whenever you have an opportunity to do something like this, make sure you thank somebody who was really there for you. So, all right, now to the book. Now we're done with this happy part. Okay. So, hi, my name is Leo. Nice to meet you. I love space. During the day, I look up at the clouds. Then at night, I stare at the stars. I think about all the planets, moons, and asteroids I can visit. Maybe I could even catch a ride on a comet. I can name all the planets in our solar system. Now, for those of you who are closer to my age than Stephanie's, you might remember that there were 9 planets. Don't worry, nothing happened to Pluto, but it is not considered a planet anymore. And so this is a great spot, right, where they can start asking questions like, what's a nice way of, how can you remember this? Or, if you were traveling to Saturn, how far do you think you'd be from the Earth? What do you think the rings are made of? And all these type of things, you can either, like I said, you could sketch them out. You could do research about them. And what's also cool is too, like that Research on the Run, this could be where, like, you've got planets in your classroom And so your students could be running around to like, oh, I'm going to find this stuff planet, or oh, I'm going to find this like diorama of this planet. A diorama is one of those things anyway. But yeah, so you can find those type of things, and like maybe they could go grab like, the planet and then run back and then research it, that type of thing. So there's always nice spots in any book where you can pause, ask questions, check for understanding, that type of thing. And so like on this next page here that I'll read, it says, I can even name some moons, right? And I started out with, our moon, but then I went to Mars, right? And I picked one of the moons there, right? Phobos. And then I went to 2 moons of Jupiter, even though Jupiter has like over 100 now, with Europa and Io. And then Titan is Saturn, and then Oberon is Uranus. And so what you can do is, this is a great spot here. Even if you're giving professional development on how to use this book or like that, there's a lot of things here where teachers may not know all these moons too, right? So this is a great way to kind of introduce them and get them excited in science, because, people know our moon because we look at it. People might know Mars. They might have heard of Europa, but some of these other ones they may not have heard of until we send a rocket there, right? So that's a nice way to do it. So, but I really love space. It would be cool to be an astronaut, but I don't want to fly to space. I like sleeping. Ooh, boy, that really went cosmic. I like sleeping in my own bed, and I would miss my guinea pig. Now, here's a great spot to stop and say, is there a reason why you might not want to go to space? Is there somebody that you might miss? Do you have a pet at home that you might miss? Why wouldn't you want to go to space? That type of thing. And so you could even pause. You could have them Google, like you can have them doodle, or that type of thing. Also, like if you're projecting this with a document camera, maybe on your projector in front of your classroom, you can then switch over to the tools that Stephanie was showing you. You could model kind of your doodling at this point in the book. And then from there, the students, even if they're on a Chromebook or something like that, can be using those tools as well, or their MacBooks or iPads or whatever they're using in your district. Mom is happy that I don't want to fly to space. She wants me to stay right here on Earth. Mom always says, Leo, your brain might be in space, but I want your feet firmly on the ground. How will I ever get to explore space if I don't become an astronaut? And again, this is a question that a lot of your students may be thinking right at that moment too. So you could say, anybody else feel like Leo? Anybody else have that question? That type of thing. And then this book actually has some statements where Leo then starts to consider the different jobs. And so if you have a book similar to this, or, there's tons of other ones, these can start being like thought starters, like, okay, like, maybe I could work for mission control and help a rocket when it flies. And you start to have some vocabulary in here, like what is mission control, right? Some people might have heard it. Some people might have seen it in a movie, depending on the age you're working with. Some of them might know it from video games. So, but that's a great place there to kind of build vocabulary. Or on the next page, how about being a teacher where I wear my cool space ties, right? You could say, do you know somebody who really likes space, who wears like space clothing or that type of thing? I tried to wear, especially when I taught elementary school, I used to try to wear really cool ties, space and other things. So, and the kids really got a kick out of it. Maybe I can be a truck driver that delivers fuel for a rocket. How about a Mars rover driver using a controller that fits in my pocket? And now here's one that, because we live in now almost the mid 21st century, A lot of your students are very familiar with the remote control. They're familiar with the controllers of the video games and all that kind of stuff. So you can ask them, why do you think, do you think you could do that? Why do you think you could do that? What kind of skills are you learning when you're using those controllers? Maybe I can be a fashion designer who makes astronaut clothes. How about becoming an astrobiologist and I can grow a space rose? And you might be like, why is the word astrobiologist in there? But it is a great word to have in there to introduce them, even if they're very little, but also the older ones too, because that word is like so full of like breaking down like roots and mids and suffixes and all that kind of stuff that you can really start to get into like the essence of vocabulary. So that's one that you can kind of keep coming back to over and over and over again, especially since we're talking about the science of reading. Maybe I can become an artist and paint the Milky Way. How about I start a podcast where I talk about space every day? Wow. There are a lot of ways to be part of space without ever leaving Earth. Are there other ways you can think of to be part of space from where you are? And this is a great time to have your students do like a turn and talk or that type of thing where, they're just sharing ideas briefly. If you want to have them in a bigger group, like a 3 or 4, to again, using those tools, you could do that. And then now you can assign jobs where this person's going to speak out. This person is going to be doing the displaying, the presenting, that type of thing. But like, especially when a book's got a natural question like that, you can kind of run with it. So I can't wait to start one of these jobs, or maybe I'll do them all. I'll get to visit space and my feet will never leave the ground. So Leo does ask a lot of questions in here, or give a lot of different scenarios, but which is awesome because then your students can really kind of run with it and maybe come up with all the other kind of cool things that, like, to be honest, as an author or anybody who's reading it may not actually think of, right? Our students come up with some really creative things for jobs that probably don't even exist yet. So it'd be very interesting to see what they come up with. And then you could take those type of things and you can do, you could take their doodles, you could take the research they do, you could kind of then hang them up around the room, right? You could do like one of those gallery walks or that type of thing. And then you can do a virtual gallery walk as well. On a lot of that with the, like I said, again, with the tools that Stephanie was showing before. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to read that and sharing, Steph. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And again, I really like how you were doing kind of those think alouds and pausing and going over and making the students predict or, summarizing what they're learning. Those are some really good strategies to support students' comprehension as they're going through that story. So make sure you get the book on Amazon. It is a great read. And I also hope that Ted signs my book very, very soon because there's like a blank white page right here that needs a signature.
I have a pen that's looking for a book, so it will get signed very soon,
Perfect.
Stephanie.
Perfect. And so when we're thinking about moving from now that we've read the book, we've gained that comprehension, we're now ready to create. And so after your students read an article, read the book, read something, these are just some ideas. And I really like to use a choice board where students can quickly kind of choose one of the options. And I also like just having 3 different choices instead of like 9 different choices, because sometimes students will sit there and they're just like, I don't know what I want to learn about, or I don't know what I want to do. And so right here, we've got where they're able to go through and really dive deep into their learning to show what they've learned and just to extend that knowledge. And so the one that I want to show you is like this create your own planet. This is a really fun activity where students get to come in to this activity and they get to design a planet. So we talked about all of the different planets in the book, and now they get to design their own planet of what they would want it to look like. And what I love about this activity is I've created this already. And I said, here in my story, I want to have unicorns on my planet. I want it to have rings, moons, water. And so they can use a mind map to add out their thoughts and ideas of everything that they want on their planet. So this can be just another way to connect those ideas. After students do that brain dump, they're able to think about, okay, I want, the gravity to be higher on Earth than compared to what it is, on Earth, on my imaginary planet. And then we can see a nice little image of our beautiful planet where it's raining. And so you can have AI support students by creating these image generators where they're able to have their planets come alive in real life to kind of see what would this planet look like. Oh, it looks like I can kind of see Jupiter from here or Saturn from here. Okay, if we see that, what do you think the temperature is like? What do you think that? And so even though our students can't go to space just like Leo, they can build their own planets and have that extension activity to support their learning as well. And so again, great way to just kind of wrap it up is creating that creation piece where maybe they have a space travel journal, or maybe they're creating some type of broadcast about their new planet or a planet in the book. And so again, it can just be a great way to make that learning kind of deeper and stick.
Yeah, and I really love the idea. A couple of things. Well, I always love what you do, but I love the idea, the fact that like you kind of limited it to 3. And I'm a person who likes to give the students more choice. So like if you are a person who likes to have that box of 9, maybe you do like 3 a day. So like you limit it to the 3 on the Monday, 3 next 3, and then like at the end of the week, then you can say, okay, you guys have tasted all the different activities or had an opportunity to. Now you can go pick another one that you haven't tried yet, and then that could be the bigger board because they're familiar with it. The one other thing though, Stephanie, I do gotta say is that if I were designing a planet, mine would probably have a little less gravity, so I could be a little taller, a little lighter, and a little faster. But that's like a me issue more than like the students issue. So just so you know.
And I think too, that's what kids are learning. Oh, if I add more gravity, I look a little bit more sturdy, right? I look a little bit more meaty. So they're going to learn that through the image generator with using AI, which I think is just really helpful for them to make those connections after they read a great book like this.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely the images will definitely kind of cement it, which is awesome. Those are kind of abstract things. That's great.
Yeah. And so again, we started with prediction, right? We had our students either space and draw and doodling, or maybe you did research on the run or some type of other activity, but you really want them to create those predictions. And then you want to build that comprehension where Ted was in the book explaining the topic, and then they were creating. Do they want more gravity or less gravity on Earth? And so how will you help students move from prediction to creation in your classroom? So go ahead and think about this question and think about how you're going to inspire your students from that first step where they might not know that topic, and how you're going to build that lesson to where they're so excited, so engaged, and now they're ready to create and even think higher levels of their learning and dive deeper. And thanks for joining us. And Ted, thank you so much for sharing your book with us. Love it. AJ, do you love this book? Remember when we read it? Come over here. You want to be on camera real quick? AJ read this book and he loved it. I forget what job you wanted. Remember where you were talking about it? Say hi, everyone. But yeah, me and AJ read this book. Huh?
Now we have a real celebrity.
Now we have AJ.
Oh. Thanks for reading the book, AJ. Yeah, I'm glad he enjoyed it. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. And thank you so much for the opportunity, to talk about the book, but more importantly, to talk about, again, this science of reading, because it's so important to, really kind of meet our students where they are and let them kind of bridge the creativity from the things we're doing. So thank you for the opportunity to present with you today, Stephanie. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think, AJ, didn't you want to be the truck driver that delivers the fuel to the rockets? Wasn't that the job that you wanted? No, which one was it?
9.
9?
I didn't even say that.
Yes, you did. He did. I promise.
That's okay.
All right,
it's the RU on the truck, Stephanie. That's what it is.
So thanks everyone for joining. Have a great day.
Thank you.
What, Bubby?